All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to be detectives and solve a classic English spelling mystery. It's one of those puzzles that trips up pretty much everyone. But by the end of this, I promise you are going to have the code completely cracked. So let's get our investigation started. So our first clue, it comes from this poster. Lecture series, Spies, Lies, and Sneaky Guys. And down below it, it says, hear about the business of the CIA. Now, at first, you might just think, interesting lecture. But if you look closer, you'll see two words that just don't seem to belong together. Spies and business. Turns out, they're hiding the exact same secret.
So what is the secret link here? Business and spies, they feel like they're from totally different worlds. But they're both shaped by the very same hidden rule in English spelling. Let's start cracking this case.
Okay, section 1, a curious case of words. Our whole investigation is going to kick off with just one word. It's our first piece of evidence, and yeah, it's a word that gives a lot of people a headache.
You probably guessed it. Business. Come on. Doesn't it just feel like there should be a Y in there somewhere? Or maybe the Y is in the wrong place? It's just a confusing word to look at. But that confusion, that's actually our first real clue. And boom, here's our first major breakthrough. The word business is really just the root word busy with the ending ness tacked on. But look what happens. That Y in busy just vanishes and becomes an I. And that's not random. Nope. That's the first sign of a hidden pattern. Section 2, cracking the code. Now that we've actually spotted a pattern, it's time to reveal the rule that's making it all happen. And here it is. We call it the Y to I rule. It's pretty simple, actually. It says, if a word ends with a consonant right before a Y, you're going to change that Y to an I before you add your ending. But, and this is the key part, you don't do it if the ending you're adding already starts with an I. So it's really just a simple two-part check. Let's think of this as a super simple 4-step process. We'll use the word carry. Okay, step 1, find the root word. That's carry. Easy. Step 2, check the ending. Does it end in a consonant plus Y? Well, it ends in RY, so yep, check. Step 3, now look at the suffix we're adding, ed. Does that start with an I? Nope. So we're clear to go to step 4. Just change that Y to an I, add the suffix, and that is how carry becomes carried. See? Simple. Okay, section 3, applying the rule. So we have our secret code. Now it's time to really put it to the test, see where it works, and, see where it doesn't. Let's compare two words here. Why does annoy become annoyed with the Y still hanging out in there? Well, it's because the rule only kicks in for words that end in a consonant plus Y. Annoy ends in a vowel plus Y, O-Y. And that one little difference, vowel versus consonant, that's absolutely everything. Now let's look at that second condition, the word supply. It ends in a consonant plus Y, so the rule should apply, right? But when we add ing, we get supplying. The Y stays. Why? Because the suffix ing starts with an I, and English just wants to avoid that awkward II spelling. But if we add es, which doesn't start with an I, the rule kicks in perfectly and we get supplies. This just goes to show you how powerful this one little rule is. Look at how it works everywhere. Study becomes studious. Greedy becomes greedier. Beauty becomes beautiful. Copy becomes copied. Rely becomes reliable. In every single one of these cases, as long as our two conditions are met, that Y just dutifully changes to an I. This isn't some rare thing. It's a fundamental system baked into the language. Section 4, the rules exceptions. All right, so we have cracked the main code. But like in any good mystery, there's always one final twist in the story. So here's the twist. It's a tiny little add-on, and it's mostly for making words plural. If your word ends in a consonant plus Y, you don't just tack on an S. Nope. You follow our rule. You change that Y to an I, and then you add ES.
And this brings us right back to the beginning. Full circle, back to that poster. Back to spies. The root word is spy, consonant P plus Y. To make it plural, we use that special add-on rule, change Y to I and add ES. S-P-I-E-S. The mystery of our two words, business and spies, is officially solved.
All right, final section, words that break the rules. We have totally mastered the system, but every system has its rebels. So let's meet the few rogue agents that refuse to follow orders. So, every rule has its outlaws, and this one is no different. Words like paid and said are just these historical quirks that have stuck around for centuries. Then you've got words like shyly and dryness that keep the Y, probably just to avoid looking weird on the page. You just kind of have to learn these ones. But here's the good news. Now that you know the main rule, these exceptions aren't random anymore. They're just the handful of words that don't quite fit the pattern.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, it's that a spelling mystery that connects two words as different as business and spies, it isn't just random chaos. It's a system. And once you see that pattern, you really can't unsee it. We took confusion and turned it into clarity. Which really only leaves one question. What other hidden rules of English are out there just waiting for you to find them? Thanks for watching The Explainer.